Alright, and if you're just joining us here at the RACEFACE.PRO PokerBet GT3 Championship, glad to have you guys here. It's a really exciting time. Tristan Herbs joining me in the commentary box, and as mentioned previously with last week, 150,000 Rand on the line for the drivers to prove themselves in a monumental run, as we have got massive sponsors. We got massive amounts of competition out there over the course of 3 servers, all duking it out. The top esports teams in South Africa for sim racing arriving on the scene, looking to put their mark on history. At the moment, Henry Mayer out in top of flight with Duplessis in second place, Fleming Bauer in third, Werner Skuman lying in fourth place, Dean Nokia, who was in fifth, dropped down to sixth because Mahath Musa comes across the line, getting a head up on the competition. Brandon Kruger getting a jump on the rest of the competition. So Dean Nokia down into 7th place. 8th is Kilian Reina, Jaco Kutzer, and Bego Krobler for Hybrid Racing 1, currently lying in 10th place. Tristan, I gotta say, incredible stuff going on right now. Lots of quick lap times. Everyone looking to get into that 146 mark, which was so close last night for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series, which was a 45-minute sprint. For anyone that's missed it, I highly recommend going back, watching it. Really incredible stuff. But with all the drivers going and giving it their absolute all, like Bernard Barkhuizen putting himself into 3rd place, Duplessis putting himself into 1st, and Henry Mayer puts himself back into 1st place. Now, I know you've been sitting with your team, chatting to the drivers. Example, Bernard Barkhuizen, all going and working out what they can do to the cars to ensure that they're going to get that top spot here tonight, and with the planning of the 2 mandatory pit stops.
Absolutely, Stephen. I think the main chat that's been going along in the pit lane is, we're obviously here at Monza, and Monza is significantly known for being the temple of speed in the GT3 calendar. It's got 3 main back straights, obviously the one leading into Parabolica, the one leading into Turn 1, and then also obviously the one after Lesmos going into Ascari. There is a lot of time to gain in straights here, Stephen. So I think the main chatter that goes around in the pit lane is going to be trying to minimize downforce, trying to get that car as streamlined as possible, but still trying to keep somewhat of a competition through the couple of chicanes here. Because those chicanes, even though there's a few of them, they still count a lot. That can be crucial for lap time. And, you don't want to focus too much on getting that downforce gone and then completely eradicating yourself through turns like Ascari and the Lesmos, which can seriously tank the car without any of that downforce. But we're going to slowly start to see some faster lap times clocking in. As you mentioned, Stephen, that sub 147 is now in place. Henry Mayer with a 146.7, with Daniel Rowe following 0.5 seconds behind. Quan Duplessis followed by Bernard Barkhuizen and Werner Skuman rounding off the top 5 so far. But the track is going to slowly start to evolve more and more. Drivers are going to start to feel a little bit more comfortable, and lap times are going to just slowly start to get faster and faster.
Yeah, a couple of cars needing to put lap times on the board. Loic Randabel needing to put a time on the board. Andre Serradio needing to get time on the board. Michael Donaldson and Issam Domingo looking to get a lap time on the board. So a couple of drivers just not getting those times out, ready to rock and roll in the race. So it's going to be a monumental effort that is required from all the drivers to get towards the top. And Daniel Rowe, who seems to be pretty content sitting in 2nd place at the moment. It's just, it's a guessing game when it leads to it. But talking about rolling the dice, how's this, Tristan? All our spectators and drivers watching now and in the future have a chance to go and win big with PokerBet, because South Africa is sending a strong contingent of 149 athletes to compete in 21 different sports, and PokerBet is going to be rewarding you watching right now for every medal they earn. So place bets on any Olympics markets from today, and you'll start earning entries into the draw to win a share of at least 20,000 Rand at the end of the Olympic Games, which, I mean, to be honest, looking at how well we're doing so far, I'm going to hedge my bets here and go for the big win, because South Africa, we only know gold. That's why we only wear green and gold, unless we played the rugby where we had the different tops. But we will also be increasing the size of the prize pool by 5,000 for every gold medal SA wins. 2,500 for every silver and 1,000 rand for every bronze. Now, how's that, Tristan?
I think that's absolutely amazing, Stephen. I mean, not only are we supporting our own country and the athletes that we've sent over to Paris for the Olympics, but we're supporting the drivers mainly who are putting in an effort to give us the entertainment for tonight, but as well the virtual spectators who don't just get to sit anymore, they actually get a chance to win some form of money, and that money only grows while our country does well. So I feel like it's just a whole formation of unity that PokerBet has got going on here, trying to get everyone to work on the same flow and the same format, and it's a beautiful thing to see, uniting everyone in one way or another, whether that's sim racing or any form of Olympic competition. But we're going to get back to the action now. Just about 5 minutes left of this qualifying session, and the track is going to start to get to that maximum evolve that we were talking about. You know, rubbers is going to start getting a little bit more hot, tires are going to slowly start to get a little bit more in tune, and drivers are going to start to get a little bit more in the headspace, as we're seeing, for example, Daniel Rowe now only 0.3 seconds from Henry Mayer, and he's still got 4 minutes to chase, which is exactly what he's going to do. Quan Duplessis also only a 10th away from Daniel Rowe, so it's going to be a chase down to the finish line. We've got the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen still sitting in 4th, Vannis Kuman still sitting in 5th, Ryan Barrington 6th, Ryan Barrington-Smith down in 6th, Paul Fenter in 7th,
Jude getting a snap.
Oh, that's so unfortunate from Jude Neville, losing it in a scary.
Yeah, that was, I think, hanging on to the back of Ryan Barrington-Smith. And we talk about dirty air coming into play, and that is just because the aerodynamics of the car throws back. And in the slipstream, it's great, but unfortunately in a corner, it actually picks the nose up of the car. And, well, as Jude Neville learned, maybe hanging on to the back of the car wasn't the best thing. The Aston Martins are an absolute tank. And when you've got a car that's so reliant on front end grip, that's just not going to work. But I do want to talk about our grandstands out tonight, because we got quite a few. Just watching in, having a chat, looking at it, and Anthony Gamble going in, jumping in, Andre Vermillion going in, saying how's it, and Jean-Ray Buerta being a part of the mix as well. Gamble, I've got to say, has been one of the consistent viewers jumping in, saying go Griffin boys and Jason Farmer. Tristan, I'm going to unfortunately take the crown of the most consistent viewer off your head and give it to Antio Gamble. So well done, Gamble.
Absolutely,
you got the crown.
So once more, the crown has been passed on. It's a beautiful thing to see the teams being supported by other members. It's a beautiful thing. As we mentioned again, unity. You know, if people are coming together over a like-mindedness of sim racing. You know, someone has now decided they're going to commit their time to come and watch RACEFACE tonight. They're going to continuously do it over and over again. And congratulations to taking that crown away. I don't even think I was the top viewer. I was just here every now and then. But glad that I knew I was on that Hall of Fame. But glad to have passed it down. So back to qualifying. 2 minutes and 45 seconds left on the Temple of Speed Monza. People are going to start putting in those final couple of lap times now, and Henry Mayer still leading with an absolute charge, still remaining with that 146.7. Daniel Rowe probably still wanting to chase him down. So it's going to come down most probably to the line into those final couple of seconds, as we're going to see drivers wanting to get those final couple of positions, because again, Monza, there's only so much places you can overtake. There's obviously the straights, but obviously once you get to those the corners, it gets a little bit harder, Stephen.
Well, I do want to point out here as well, remember last night we had a Ford Mustang towards the front. It was all front engines. Well, take a look. McLaren, BMW, McLaren, Audi, then Ford in the top 5. 6 and 7 is the Aston Martin. So it does look like some drivers were able to iron out a few niggles with their cars and now pushing themselves that little bit more. But 3 drivers unable to go and get a lap time in. Loic Randall, Andre Serradio, and Michael Donaldson have not gone and put themselves out on the track to get a qualifying time in. So that is desperately going to hurt their chances. And clawing all the way from the back here at Monza, a lot of people say is the safer option, but for me, I'd rather be in towards the front of the fight, start getting myself into the race and start getting the momentum instead of being at the back of a Constantina, then trying to move my way up through the order. At least I'm putting my pace against someone that is like-minded, and I'm not going and landing in the wrong spot. So something that the drivers need to consider with the way they're pushing, and especially for an hour and 20 minutes and 2 mandatory pit stops as needed. I mean, these are things you want to take into consideration as a driver, but as a team boss, I'm sure that is not ideal situations because you're sitting with your team currently in the wrong spots, if anything, and not having an opportunity to get there out on the track to even put a lap time down does hurt any planning you went and just practiced with.
100%, Stephen. And I mean, as you mentioned, that concertina effect, Monza is somewhere where you witness that concertina effect being used, and it gets absolutely obliterated on Monza. As we know, long straights and very, very narrow braking zones. Like for example, turn 1, it's a hard braking zone, braking at the 150 on normal lap times. You know, braking, like we mentioned, down to the 300 board on first lap to try and compensate for that massive concertina effects, because people start stretching out on the straights, and then as soon as it gets to a breaking point, everyone squishes in together. And that's exactly why we see so much contact happening at a track such as Monza. But that is qualifying rounded up. Fleming Bauer is so far the only person to cross the line, which means his lap time is officially locked up. Henry Mayer also parking the car, so that means his lap time will sit. But Quan Duplessis starting his final flying lap. Do you think he'll be able to take that away from Henry Mayer, Stephen?
It's going to be close. He's going to have to try and pick up 0.3 of a second around. I mean, this is going to be a rough one for any sort of momentum. Second place is not bad, and considering you've got Daniel Rowe behind you to help as a teammate to get into the fray of things, it's a comforting thought to a point. I'm still not entirely sure of how well that's going to work out. Side by side with Henry Mayer, unless you get the jump on him, it's going to be a rough one. But I don't think he has an opportunity, because at the moment he is not getting any better in the sectors. The only ones that are improving is Ryan Barrington-Smith, who has improved his time, Sean Lerero, and that's about that. Bernard Barkhuizen actually has improved his time. He takes second place away, lastminute.com style. So Duplessis has only Parabolica to make up 0.3 of a second, which, unless you've got an amazing toe, and already the turn-in tells differently. Bounce the car across, runs it out wide. Nah, I don't think he has got it underneath the tank, and will be starting side-by-side with his teammate for the race.
Well, it's always a great thing to have some team collaboration, especially when you want to try and strategize and work together to possibly overtake other people. But as you mentioned, Stephen, people are going to be trying to get the jump on Henry Mayer on the start. But we saw from last night, I believe he mentioned that he was using the sprint series as a bit of practice for tonight. And I mean, boy, you can see that definitely paid off, sitting comfortably in first place. And he got an amazing start last night. So do you think he's going to be able to replicate it again? He's got the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen and Quan Duplessis, who will be sitting on the rear of him, as well, Daniel Rowe and Vanna Skuman. But we're going to go through the grid now shortly, and Stephen's going to take over.
Yeah, it's going to be an epic one. Well, it's going to be who can have lightning in a bottle for the start of the race to ensure that they stay up towards the top. But with that being said, let's go and take a look at the running order for this exciting round 2 of the RACEFACE PokerBet GT3 Championship here at Monza. And kicking it all off in first place is going to be Henry Mayer, followed by Bernard Barkhuizen, Quinn Duplessis, Daniel Rowe, Werner Skuman, Ryan Barrington-Smith, Brandon Kruger in 7th place, Mahaith Musa, Issam Domingo, Christoph Peterson, Paul Fenter, Dino Kier, Bego Krobler, Fleming Bauer, Kilian Reyna, Chris Haneke, Mordrake Larsens, Mac van der Merwe, Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, Ryan for the race, Jason Farmer, Jean Verfiers, Jude Neville, Ferry van Zale, Jaco Kutzer, Ruan Kleinans, Neil Balloon, along with Tennis Buerta, Vietia Buerta, Sean Lerero, Jean Leroux, Kevin Jacobs, Keegan Sanderson, Rian Ferree, Connor Bergstrom, Darren Miller, Loic Randabel, Andre Seradio at the back of the field, and Michael Donaldson rounding out our monstrous field here tonight. But all eyes are going to be out towards the front, and the GT3s are just looking stunning. I mean, an aerial cam just says the story of how amazing we're about to see these cars come by. But all eyes will be fastened right to Henry Mayer, who has got a lot on the cards now to ensure he stands towards the sharp end of the field. Not going to be an easy time out there. Some very, very stiff competition looking to take their chance. and claw their way through.
Absolutely,
That being said,
but I mean,
carry on, Tristan.
Go ahead.
No, no.
Okay, cool. Absolutely. So we're going to be going into a formation lap now, allowing the drivers to get a little bit of warmth into their tires. But I mean, Stephen, as you mentioned, the beauty of seeing some GT3s and tin tops from the sky's view, it's quite a speculation to see. I mean, and there's such an array of colors. I mean, you've got that beautiful Martian livery from the Martian Racing guys, the blue of the Hybrid Racing, green of the Omnius Gaming. There's even some pink from the Pandacity guys. It's a completely mixed colored grid, and it allows for some beautiful spectatorship. You know, there's no dullness of skill or liveries here, Stephen. Everyone is put in the effort, everyone's put in the time needed, and hopefully this is going to be turning out to be an amazing race.
You're about to see the fastest in South Africa go and slug it out. But while we got a bit of time here, it gives us an opportunity to talk about PokerBet, because the Olympics is also renowned for dishing out upsets and surprises daily, like our drivers are going to really keep us guessing till the end. So PokerBet will be offering you the opportunity to get 10% of your stakes back per week for every 1,000 Rand wagered and lost on the Olympic market. So keep an eye out that there is a chance that you can get money back for your losses. So in other words, you can have another crack at it, which is always fantastic and an opportunity moment for you guys all watching here tonight. So sign up with PokerBet today and get cash back, as well as go for the wins for every time, because we've got massive stakes out here. But while the drivers are making way through, a couple of things that they're going to be doing: holding on to the brakes, causing what we call brake drag. That goes and builds up heat from the brakes to bleed into the rim, which then bleeds into the tire carcass. It starts to warm it up. So you want to heat your brakes up to heat the rim, to heat the tire. Don't want to go too much though, because you're going to swing it the wrong way, and considering it's 32 degrees track temperature, you don't want to get caught out in a monstrous issue of overpressuring your tires. But you do want to have enough that you're going to be quick to climb on the anchors heading into turn 1 and try and carry the momentum through. I mean, just lots of factors that the drivers are going to have to be thinking about right now. You've seen it all from the highest of competitions. You've been a part of versing some of these amazing pros that we are watching tonight. But I've got to say, I'm pretty nervous, I'm excited, and I'm wondering, how is this all going to go?
Absolutely, Stephen. I mean, I don't think I feel any different. I've got a little bit of shake in the hands here. We've got some pretty dominating figures up in the top there, and they're going to be fighting straight down into turn 1. There's going to be no time to waste. And a nice little additional factor from anyone who did stick around and watch the sprint series happen last night. The sprint series was a 45-minute race with no strategic pit stops happening. We've got 2 forced pit stops that have to happen this race, and that adds so much area of play and factoring that can come into the play of the race. You know, it can cause position gain, it can cause undercuts, it can cause overcuts. It adds so much more entertainment and thrill. You're watching your favorite driver, they go into the pit lane early. That's when the thoughts start speculating: is this driver going to do well? Are they going to come out early? And those are the nice things about a main championship, is the race is long. There's lots of time to think, but there's also not a lot of time to think depending on the situation. And, you know, drivers have to endure a lot more, Stephen.
Well, I'm sure nerves are kicking in for you, because you currently got one of your teammates lined up on the second row against Henry Mayer, who you've seen is rather potent on the start. It's very stiff competition coming around Parabolica for the start of round 2 of the RACEFACE.PRO RACEFACE.PRO PokerBet GT3 Championship, and it's all eyes on for season 19. Lights on, 70 kilometers an hour. Wait for the jump. Do not get a jump on the line, otherwise you will land up with a drive-through penalty. You don't want that for the start of the race. Lights on, lights on, lights on, and away we go racing. Henry Mayer's got a great start. Bernard Barkhuizen, though, is going to look to challenge it. He's got the momentum off the line, but take a look at Daniel Rowe and Duplessis. They are absolutely on rails behind them, but nowhere to go. And it does look like Duplessis trying to fish 3 wide into the corner. That was not gonna work. It looks like Daniel Rowe having to take evasive maneuvers. He loses out to Werner Skuman, and there is a little bit of argy-bargy coming through at the back as Brandon Kruger making up some time. trying to launch his way back through into the fray of things. But Duplessis tried getting his nose in a little bit too early, lost out that bet. Werner Skuman comes back at him. So Duplessis now dropping down the order. Brandon Kruger going and moving across to try and defend against Daniel Rowe. That has allowed Ryan Barrington-Smith to go side by side with Issam Domingo. That's going and trying to give him a good run through his money.
Oh, Stephen, it's such an unfortunate thing to see, having a bit of collision and a bit of contact on turn 1. I must say, though, much cleaner from last night's race. People took it a lot slower, but such an unfortunate turn of events for Quan Duplessis. He got stuck in the middle of Henry Meyer and Bernard Barkhuizen, and he couldn't go left or right as he was blocked by the people behind him. So unfortunate tap. Thankfully, not too much damage caused, and everyone could continue racing. So Bernard Barkhuizen knocked down to 9th place from 2nd place due to that first lap incident. Thankfully, as we mentioned, the GT3 Championship is a 1 hour, 20-minute race. He's going to have the time to catch up, and he hasn't lost too much ground. But as we mentioned, Henry Meyer, 1.8 seconds gap already to Werner Skuman. He's already starting to pull away from the rest of the grid. And Daniel Rowe now looking up the inside of Brandon Kruger, getting a little bit of a better run than the Ferrari. Looking up the inside, Brandon Kruger might start going defensive. It's very, very close between each other. It looks like he's going to hold the inside line. Equal speed right now. Brandon Kruger, you can see he's losing a little bit of speed to the BMW, holding on the outside line. I don't know if he's going to go defensive going into turn 1, but Daniel Rowe definitely got the inside line. He's got it from Brandon Kruger. He's trying to hold it, but he can't get it, and unfortunately Daniel Rowe takes that position away from Brandon Kruger.
That was enough of a squeeze, I've got to say. That was laid onto him there. Just pressurizing enough, saying, listen, I'm going to move over slightly just to go and sit in your mirrors, and that's going to move me up a little bit. As we see Ryan Barrington-Smith dealing with Issam Domingo, who tries to go up and get past it. And also Ryan trying to also take a dive on Kruger. It was a little bit optimistic, but enough of a jar, just saying, hey, listen, I'm coming through, don't mind me. Issam Domingo feeling the pressure from Mahayath Musa, and not far behind them is Bernard Barkhuizen, who is now going defensive against Christoph Peterson in that little Honda that could. It's like the little Thomas Tank Engine, the only Honda in the field, the only loved Honda in the field, because everyone else opting that it's not the greatest in the world type of story. I gotta say differently, but that's just my thoughts. Just taking a look though, there's a couple of incidents that happened. Let's go down to the 97. This was a bit of a lockup and close up, as it does look like Mordre Claessen's getting caught out. Conor Bergstrom having to go really onto the brakes there, and has a good tussle down the wire, but that's concertina effect, because unfortunately we had a start that wasn't the greatest for a good couple of cars. Number 15 having a run, and was this into the second of the chicanes?
Oh, so someone cutting the curb there.
Yeah, that was one, but here is the Aston Martin, number 15, Bego Krobler, getting a run out wide, gets a tank slapper, tries to bring it back, comes across the nose. Oh!
Massive crash.
And yeah, that's not quite what you want to have. Bego Krobler having a bag full of problems in one fell swoop, trying to return back onto the circuit, and the nose coming across the BMW. So I couldn't quite see who it was. Unfortunately, some liveries look like they haven't quite pulled through, or there may be something missing in the file, so do apologize for that. But still, we're getting to see some of the awesome liveries out on track. Absolutely incredible. Guys going and pulling out every artistic bone in their body to get it right. Issam Domingo, though, unfortunately, not going and getting the livery out on awesome sim liveries as yet, but he's going after Brandon Kruger, who has got the bit between his teeth.
Absolutely, Stephen, and I mean, we shouldn't be counting out people like Ryan Barrington-Smith. He had a really great run last night. We saw him playing a major concertina effect in some of the drivers, constantly catching up, dropping off, and then catching up again. So I feel like Ryan might actually be able to stick with Issam Domingo and carry the slipstream generated from Brandon Kruger, and create a little bit of a train again for 5th place. Last night we saw it with Dino Kier with the train for 6th place. And we're probably going to see it again with Monza, but I mean, back to that Honda, as you mentioned, the only Honda currently on grid. We saw it throwing a little bit of rear end out there on the Lesmos, and I've got to say, Stephen, from your opinion of the car, my opinion might differ from yours. I've driven that thing one time, and I almost wanted to uninstall the game. It was a little bit of a rough ride in that Honda. It's a very unique car, but as we're speaking of it, Bernard Barkhuizen looking up on the inside of Moaf Musa. I think he's going to get the position. He's going super attack mode, and Moaf Musa going defensive. Bernard Barkhuizen should have this coming up into the inside, depending on how defensive Moaf Musa goes. Same with Brandon Kruger, getting squeezed a little bit by Isham Domingo. Goes on the outside line, and that's going to affect his run off of turn 1. And as you can see, Ryan Barrington-Smith now joins the fight on the outside of Brandon Kruger. He's looking all over the place. Where can he make moves?
Yeah, trying to go for the outside, but Kruger just leaning enough to the middle of the circuit to go defensive, forcing Ryan to go and battle his way around. So some very clever skill work coming into there. And Bernard Barkhuizen taking the absolute lunge of a lifetime on Moaf Musa, gets it all booked in. And now immediately Peterson coming back with a Honda, trying to come across. And Moaf Musa losing out of the position, loses out the drive. Peterson going to look for the inside line, can't get it past. And he's got Paul Fenter all over the back of him. Fleming Bauer into the mix as well, as they try to fight their way through. Well, you spoke about whether the Honda is a good car, bad car. Well, I do like the KTM GT4 because that's just awesome. The GT2, not my huge favorite, but I mean, come on. It's a rocket ship. I mean, look at this.
It's absolutely menacing on the straights. I completely agree with that, but cornering can be quite challenging. Honda being a mid-engine car can sometimes throw some great rotation into the corners, but sometimes a little bit too much, and I felt it when driving this car. Sometimes trying to take those fast left and right handers, the back end did not agree with what you were doing. So I feel like it's one of those very finicky setup cars. You have to set it up right, and you have to know how to drive it. But as we're speaking, Ryan Barrington-Smith, the underdog that we were talking about, right on the back of Brandon Kruger, looking up on the outside. Will he make the move? He seems to be carrying a lot more speed than Brandon Kruger, so Brandon's going to go defensive against Ryan. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold this. Ryan is completely ahead, and he takes the position very cleanly into turn 1, and now he's going to be chasing the rear side of Isham Domingo. So it's a great fight right now for 5th place, Stephen. I mean, as I mentioned, the train is going to continue building, because that in the background is the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen slowly starting to create a bit more ground after having that turn 1 incident.
Well, let's also talk about the next elephant in the room, because we talk about those 2 mandatory pit stops, but we forgot to mention, or we've withheld that little bit of information. You know, we've got to keep cards close to our chest until it's the right time to play it. And, well, this time, I think it's time to play it. Not only have our breakboards been shattered like all the records that is being thrown out thanks to all of South Africa sim racing, but in 10 minutes, we will have, well, in the next minute and a half, we'll have the pit window open where drivers will be able to get their mandatory pit stops done and dusted. In the final 10 minutes, though, it does close. So you have to wait 10 minutes from the start and get in before 10 minutes of the end. That pit window forces you to try and figure out what your plan is. So you can't do a last lap splash and dash. You're going to have to really think it through. For those that had quite a bit of damage to their cars that dived into the pits, well, they're going to have to do one more pit stop once again. Like Randall being one of them. Darren Miller is another one. Conor Bergstrom needing to get back into the pits. And Rian van der Race, who is parked in the pits, needs to get himself sorted. But we do see a free looking very, very skewed out on that 175.
That is so unfortunate. It seems like Ferrari has lost control of that BMW. We're going to watch it now. It seems like it's going to happen at Ascari. He's got the likes of an Alain R car pushing up the back of him. A little bit of pressure maybe, hooking up nicely on the inside. Oh, and hits the sausage curb. Manages to avoid the Ferrari of the Alain R car, but straight into the barriers at the end of Ascari. So once again, Stephen, Ascari has claimed another victim. We had a couple of victims from last night, and it's going to continue grabbing people within these 1 hour and 10 minutes. But back to pit strategies, as you mentioned, in about 5 seconds, the pit window does open, and then things start to get very exciting. We start thinking about pit strategies, undercuts and overcuts. Will people try and dive in, do both pit stops as soon as they can, get it done, and fight the clean air? Or will they try and fight with their competitors, get their pit stop done as they need to?
I think it's going to be an incredible one. And Daniel Rowe now trying to go around the outside of Werner Skuman, who's going to take the inside line. Quick flash there. Was there a bit of an interesting chat between these two that we weren't familiar to? Werner Skuman actually giving the space to Daniel Rowe to make up time. So a bit of communication happening out on track from two different teams that are not in the same radio comms, but maybe just an understanding of what they need to do to catch up. So this is going to be a proper run for them. Ryan Barrington-Smith onto the back of SM Domingo, trying to figure out his way past. Can't quite get the drive as yet as they make their way through. So, interesting times ahead. And we heard the pit window is open for our drivers to get their pit stops done and dusted. Mahath Musa into the pits. He is one of the drivers capitalizing on this right now. So is Free, Bago Krobler. They're into the pits. Connor Bergstrom comes into the pits. It looks like everyone starting to filter their way in, getting that first pit stop out of the way so they can carry on the race, which will give us a bit of an understanding of the bar. Where is the drivers that you're going to have to keep an eye out for, because you want to get ahead of them when you do your pit stop and come out. So definitely want to keep an eye out for. Let's see how that's going to go. Our top 10 will be keeping a very close eye on that as well. From a team perspective though, Tristan, what is going to be the key points that you're looking for?
So I think the key points are definitely going to be some form of field analysis. Drivers are going to be analyzing where they are in the field and whether or not having an early pit stop will benefit them or potentially not benefit them. So drivers sitting further down in the grid with potentially some nice clean air in front don't really think that they need to pit immediately. But then you've got other drivers, for example, that massive battle for fifth we saw with Isham Domingo, Brandon Kruger and Ryan Barrington-Smith, and now the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen. It can get very sticky with all that hot air generated from all four of those cars, and it might be a possible strategy to pull into that pit early, get the pit stop done, and then get into some nice clean air, put in some consistent laps, and possibly beat someone out of the pit lane. It's something you see often in sim racing, people playing the power of an undercut, but unfortunately, depending on how well you drive and how well you keep it clean, sometimes that power dissipates or sometimes it grows really big. So it's just going to have to be something we have to watch for, Stephen.
Tire life, fuel, all factors that a Thursday night is brought in. I've got to say, with esports coming to the Olympics, I think we are taking a look at a field of 39 Olympic champions. In my opinion, they are currently racing here tonight. These are the pros. These are the fastest in South Africa fighting it out. We cannot count out that we do have an AM and a Pro-Am racing at the exact same time. And they only lost out in getting into Pro by 0.001 of a second to get into that top run. So it's definitely a great thing to see drivers able to push themselves that little bit more. But a couple of drivers trying to claw their way back is Daniel de Villiers, who is looking left and right, very aggressive, looking for a pass and gets it done. As for Fears, I think got caught out in that little flick around and didn't quite know where to look.
I won't lie, Stephen. I think if I was Fears, I would have had a little bit of a scream in my helmet there. Seeing that speculation in the back of the rear view mirror, I mean, I think the likes of Daniel de Villiers was looking left and right, constantly trying to find that position, and caught Fears a little bit off guard, catching him out of the chicane, and obviously capitalizing from that place. Fears going a little bit onto the gravel and losing the run, but Fears is not going to just end it there. You can see he's very tight on that Lamborghini of the PWSR, Daniel de Villiers. He's going to be holding it tight, but very high bumps, getting jumped from both of those cars. But once again, you see on the back straight, very close. And we see in the background another fight happening over there. I believe that's the likes of Kleinhans,
Kutza and Loureiro having a good go at one another. Loureiro stuck on the outside with a big Mustang. Kutza with a huge dive on the inside. And Kleinhans, who is now getting to play piggy in the middle, suddenly has a Mustang on the back of him. Had a McLaren look for the inside, as it does look like Jaco Kutza pulls into the pits. Loureiro's going to have a good go into turn one, though. Side by side they go, and away we send. So, on the brakes, can he get on the anchors? Just neatly getting it ahead there, and it gets back onto the
heavily affected though. He's going to be heavily affected coming out of this corner. He took a very sharp line into T1. That McLaren behind took a much wider and open approach coming out of turn one, carrying a little bit more speed possibly, but it seems like Loureiro managing to plant the car nicely and keep it in front. Again, back at Daniel de Villiers and Juan Fears, not giving up at all. Now Viviers is playing the Daniel cards, looking up the inside, trying to fill those rear view mirrors like Steven says all the time, trying to potentially intimidate and scare that driver and make him say, listen, I don't want you to be seeing cars behind you, I want to see my front bumper in that mirror. Trying to plant himself right behind that Lamborghini and potentially put a little bit more pressure on him, force him to maybe make a mistake and capitalize once again, taking that position back. But we even see that BMW's got a little bit of taps and scrapes on the front bumper. He's obviously been in the touches a bit with other cars, most probably from that T1 incident. So I don't think that'll affect his speed too much.
This is one of the love taps that we're given. Both drivers into T1, giving it absolutely everything, climbing on the anchors, a quick turn in. And okay, well found where the scrapes and taps came from. It was in the shape of a Lamborghini's door that landed up onto the side of him. So definitely not ideal circumstances for the drivers there. But back up towards 6th place, it's getting a little bit wild. Ryan Barrington-Smith still on the back of Domingo. Is pushing as hard as he can at the moment, trying to fight his way through. Absolutely tremendous stuff. Drivers still giving it everything they got, but we do have some rough news though. And taking a look over to our timing, we currently have lost a couple of drivers. We're down to 36 drivers still circulating at the moment. Others unable to get their cars out of the pits due to various reasons. I do hope that the mechanics are working frantically to get those cars back out on the track and rejoin round 2 of the RACEFACE.PRO PokerBet GT3 Championship, because every point matters. If you want to go and stand at the high stakes table, you got to be in it to win it from start to finish. Win, lose or draw, no matter what.
Absolutely, and I mean, something I think we mention a lot of the time, or mainly Steven mentioning in the com box, is that it doesn't matter if you're 3 or 4 laps down and you've got 45 seconds of damage. What matters is that you drive past that checkered flag and you're counted. You're not a null value or a miscounted value sitting in the pit lane because, someone going heavy off the grass there, losing a little bit of focus.
It's Chris Heineke.
Like Chris Heineke, yeah. Coming out of Ascari, might have lost the rear a bit on that Bentley, touching the sand on the outside, but managed to keep the car nice and stable. The Slick Racing team boss looking at that going, phew, that was a very close one to hitting that wall. Managed to keep the car nice and planted, and again, some nice uniqueness we see on the grid. That I believe this is the only Bentley on the grid, along with the only Audi and the only Honda that we are seeing. So nice uniqueness, drivers trying to take a different approach, match the driving style rather than matching the trend. So Stephen, I want to ask you, what do you think is more important, trying to match the trend or trying to match your driving style?
I would say the driving style, to be honest, because if you think about it, well, you start looking at a person's driving style. I'm going to take my teammates, Jan Praise, Cameron Bastos and myself. Different driving styles. Cameron Bastos, very aggressive on the front tires, requiring lots and lots of mechanical grip, asking for lots of mechanical grip to go for him. But unfortunately, tire drop-off and tire degradation is severely worse. Where Jan Praise is more aerodynamics. He requires that aerodynamics to just push him down and force the nose to turn and the rear tires just to live with it as much as possible. Does have high dig, but both drivers put in phenomenal lap times in doing so. Where on my side it's a little bit different, where I'm more lift and coast. I'm the guy that's fuel's expensive and tires are even more expensive. You gotta take it easy. You can't get those quick lap times, but if you're able to avoid getting an extra pit stop, or if you can have a little bit more left in the tank towards the end instead of going and braking and waiting and waiting for a bit of a problem, that's always the best. So I'd rather go with a driving style versus the trend. Hence my pick of car. I've done the BMW, don't like it. My pick would actually be the Honda.
Oh really? Okay, so you've got a more of a playful driving style while throwing around that Honda. But I mean, aside from talk about driving styles, let's have a look again at our virtual grandstand. Some of the guys really going and throwing their support out. We've got Gamble saying, thank you so much for the crown, I'll take it gladly. Glad that you can have a productive Panda. I believe the team boss and Pandacity saying this is going to be a fantastic race. couldn't agree more with you. And then unfortunately, some more news on a disconnect. Jean Leroux unfortunately suffering a disconnect from the race. Such an unfortunate thing to see, and we see it often.
And
drivers losing out. Jude Neville as well. So drivers losing out from points due to external issues, not even race issues or skill. It's things that are outside of their control, and it's such a sad thing to see because the potential is there, Stephen.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet. Get yourselves back. If you can connect, get yourselves back on track. That's what I am putting the challenge out there to the guys. If you can't get your car back out on track due to a full mechanical issue that it is completely written off, fine. You are allowed to come to the interview room. But if you have a chance to get back on track, I don't want to see you in the interview room. I want to see you out on the track. Otherwise, it's going to land up with some shenanigans to point out the drivers.
I believe the likes of Loic Randebal has also suffered a bit of damage or something, but also sitting in the pit lane, possibly taking the DNF to the chin. So not too sure what happened there. Could have been damage related or could have been possibly something else. But again, unfortunate thing to see. But as Steven mentioned it, if you do not have an issue relating to anything outside of your control, we suggest just getting back on track. Sure, you might not get the points you wanted, but you're going to see that checkered flag just like the rest of these drivers. You're going to push, and that practice is not going to be completely pointless. There's no point in giving up now, guys. I mean, you got to do it. But as we're mentioning it, 3 wide into turn 1, it seems like the McLaren of Fleming Bauer backs off a little bit, but now he's back into the fight, right balls to the wall with Paul Venter. Paul Venter trying to hold him off, but he's holding on the outside, gets a better round at a turn 1. And now he's going to be holding on the outside, as you can see over there. But Paul Venter holding that inside line, gets a little bit less track distance that he has to drive and manages to grab that place from Fleming Bauer. But coming into the next turn over here, Fleming Bauer tucks the car nicely in. He's not going to try and make a risky overtake.
It's going to be a challenging the whole way through. Paul Venter gets the pass done over Fleming Bauer. And absolutely incredible stuff. Well, while we got some amazing action out on track, let's go through the running order just so we can... Oh, no, never mind, as I say that. Yeah, every time we get to show Fleming Bauer, unfortunately, landing up with a bit of misfortune due to commentators' curse. Sorry, Fleming, we'll change away from you now. We'll go to your teammate instead. Henry Mayer out in first place with Daniel Rowe in second place. Werner Skuman lying in a third at the moment. Quinton Duplessis in fourth. Fifth is Ryan Barrington-Smith, getting chased down by Issam Domingo and Bernard Barkhuizen in seventh, followed by Brandon Kruger, Christoph Peterson, Paul Venter, Chris Haneke, Dean Nokia, Fleming Bauer, Mac van der Merwe, Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, Ruben Kleinans, Jean Verveers running in 17th, 18th, Andre Seradio, Kerry Fontel, Neil Byrne, along with Michael Donaldson, Mahayath Musa, Jaco Kutza, Tiernas Buerta, Jason Farmer, Viatia Buerta, Mordre Claessens, followed by Keegan Sanderson, Killian Rayner, Kevin Jacobs, Rion Ferry, Darren Miller, Bego Krobler, Connor Bergstrom, and Sean Lerero make his way through. Rian van der Rey still in the pits as it stands at the moment. But with that being said, Bernard Barkhuizen having a good little bit of fight with Issam Domingo, really putting the pressure on the back of him and saying, listen, I'm going to place my bet here. You're not going to stay in that position for very, very much longer. Where Bernard Barkhuizen saying, listen, I got ahead of you. I can ensure to stay well enough ahead of you as that big BMW charges into the back of him.
That was an extremely close one. The BMW, I think, slightly better brakes compared to the McLaren, or possibly just a little bit of misjudgment coming into the corner. But that's the crazy thing about reaction times and reflexes in sim racing. Is things can go wrong so quickly, especially under braking, when the car ahead is starting to brake harder than you and you've got nowhere to go. You can't turn the car aggressively under brakes or you'll lose it. So you just have to kind of sit behind the car and hope for the best. But as you can see here, Issam Domingo is not letting go of this. Comes around the outside of Barkhuizen now into Ascari, a very risky move. They tap each other a little bit, trading a little bit of paint there. And Barkhuizen managing to stay ahead. Thankfully, no major collision happening through Ascari. Ascari has taken so many victims across last night and tonight. That's thankful that we didn't have to see another one there, Steven.
That is definitely the one to talk about. Now, I do want to go and test your brain a little bit here, because let's bring in a couple of rules of GT3 racing and see if you can understand this one. So, looking at Isam Domingo's car, front engine BMW has got 2 review mirrors. One, a camera that is showing pretty much everything that you need and it's within eyesight. And you've now got a 7-inch review mirror as a proper mirror. Why do you think there's 2 review mirrors in this car?
To be honest with you, Stephen, I'm not even going to try and sound smart because I'm not, and I have zero clue
give it a try.
why there's 2. Give it a try.
Give it a try.
I have no clue. I'm going to say something so stupid. I seriously can't think of a reason for it. I mean, they have the exact same function, don't they? Does the one have a wider FOV, possibly the screen allowing more vision?
No, they both have the same amount of vision. But the original rules of GT3, when it first came in to replace became as the cheaper class, because we had the GT1s, the GT2s were slightly cheaper than the GT1s. GT1s then turned to GTEs, but GT3 was meant to be the cheaper class. It was meant to be the bronze class. You don't quite have the same change, you know, you haven't got the silver in your pocket to go and claw your way through. So it was the cheap seats. But the rules were, the car is exactly as it comes out the box. Only modifications that can be done is aerodynamic upgrades, very, very slight. So no flat bottoms, no tunnels underneath it. These are body modifications that a client can go and purchase from the factory. So you can go...
Before you continue, I'm gonna try and answer one more time. I'm gonna use a grandstand spectator here and see if he can give me the luck to maybe get this question right with you. This is coming from a grandstand spectator known as Chris S54, and he says it's in case the car gets rear-ended and the camera is broken.
No.
Ah, okay.
No, because then why is there no rearview mirror sitting in the McLaren?
That is so interesting, and that's something you've only brought to my attention now, Stephen.
So the reason for it is it has to be exactly as it's come out of the box. So what you see is what you get. What you can purchase from the factory is what you get. That means anything with a front engine that does come out with a rearview mirror has to have it. Mid-engines, well, you don't have anything at the back. I mean, if we go and look from a chase cam, Isam Domingo's got a rear. He could see out the back. He could see out the window. Where do you see it out of the McLaren?
Oh, okay. That is so crazy, and that actually makes so much sense. Yeah, so the engine takes up the rear of the car, so there's actually nowhere to look out the back.
So, Ford did one better, where they actually tried it out in their GTEs, tried one race in a GT3. So, they went and equipped cameras on the outside of the cars, well, in the wing mirrors, and a camera on the center to reduce weight and improve aerodynamic efficiency. McLaren later tried it to also get around the rules of the FIA, and yes, you can purchase it from the factory, but it was deemed it broke the cost cap. So for anyone that doesn't know, GT3s have cost caps as well. Yes, a simple mirror is just as much as having a toaster sandwich at a Red Bull pit.
And that breaks a cost cap. Yeah, so that makes sense. GT3 is obviously a limited race series to make cars equal and performing the same. So obviously you can't reach cost caps. You know, it could cause greater horsepower, maybe an increased or reduced amount of weight. But wow, Stephen, you brought something crazy to my attention. But aside from that, there's still so much great fighting going on. John Vivier's having some immense pressure from the likes of Mac van der Merwe in that OG Nitro car, and the likes of Andre Serodio on the back of him. The BMWs are giving this little Porsche a very hard time. Ooh, almost cut up the inside there of John Vivier's, almost cut him off. Needs to maybe check the blind spot a little bit, but he's got the inside line running into the next turn. I don't think he's going to keep it. That BMW has got
squirrely.
That was almost a massive accident. Oh, and again, the tap. Mac van der Merwe is off into the gravel, and both BMWs get past safely.
Okay, well, I want to ask a question now that I've passed on a bit of useless knowledge to you. Whoa, as we see it, De Villiers! Oh my heavens, De Villiers made a split in the middle. That was a 50-50 split. Which way are you going to go for the gamble? Looks like all the drivers went and opted to bet on red for that one and came out with a win. But I've got a question. I'm looking at the KSR cars, which is always... not the KSR, the Omnius gaming cars. And I'm starting to wonder. There's green. Great. But why do we have Mac van der Merwe in a white one that says Omnius Gaming Nitro? Is this the junior team that's part of it, or what's the score here, Tristan? You're the best person to ask. I've been scratching my head, coming up with theories that even, well, Area 51 is now looking at me.
Yeah, no, 100%. So originally starting OG Nitro, when we started in the beginning, it was actually called Omnius Gaming Academy. So it was going to be an academy team, as you mentioned. So your first guesstimate was not wrong at all. But then we slowly started to realize that, you know, Omnius has got some form of standard in the sim racing scene. We're pretty fast, and we do want to bring on some faster drivers. But another issue then arose where drivers were not willing to sign contracts. So basically, the Omnius Gaming main team are signed on a contractual basis that they have to race every single race in whichever championship they're racing, unless for any form of emergency, which there obviously has to be proof of. So we have drivers like Mac van der Merwe, who is definitely, you cannot count out from being a pro driver. He is immensely fast, but why is he not in the main Omnius Gaming team? And the reason is because Mac van der Merwe, I don't want to share too much about his outside life, but he has an occupation that can sometimes take up too much time, and it forces him to miss races. So Omnius Gaming Nitro is essentially a sister team of Omnius Gaming, which does not require any form of contractual obligations of having to race constantly. So if you are needing to go away for whatever reason, you can do so. You just need to notify the team. There's no punishment involved, and they can still race however they want. They just don't have to sign the contract, and they don't get some of the few benefits that the main team get. So I hope that clears up for you, Stephen, or do you need me to explain more?
No, that pretty much clears it up, but one thing I'm seeing is a whole lot of chaos going on my screen, and that is because there's an accident with the number 13 car. This was SM Domingo, who landed up with a bit of side-on contact. So Domingo, trying to make his way through, I think got a little... Yeah, looks like he may have just got a little bit of a rub there. Nothing... Oh, never mind. That was...
That was drift.
Yeah, except the Ferrari didn't quite make it through and landed up with a bit of a problem. The 667 car, that's Bernard Barkhuizen, also had a little bit of a running into with Ryan Barrington-Smith ahead of him. So let's quickly take a look at that and see where that little bit of paint wrap came from. Heading into T1. Yeah, middle of the circuit. Defensive. Looks for the cutback. Tries to go for the undercut. Quick through and through, gets acceleration, and there's a little bump draft. Not bad,
so
but
just
a bit of NASCAR.
Just a bit of harmless bump drafting. Obviously, we saw the McLaren taking a little bit of a wider approach into T1, and that just essentially allows the car to carry a bit more speed on the exit, and that's exactly what we saw with the Aston Martin. John Viviers losing the rear a little bit there, trying to find space around the Porsche of Mac van der Merwe, trying to see where he can capitalize. He feels like he's probably losing a little bit of time here, and he wants to try and get past. He's got the likes of Andres Herodio in front of him, and he also wants to try and take the position back from him. So pretty interesting spectacles here, but one thing I'd like to mention in specific, especially with the pro division here, is that the racing is close, Stephen, but it is always so clean, and drivers are extremely respectful. We always speak about that whole gentleman's agreement where if a driver gets bumped off by another driver, the driver in fault will stop and allow the other driver to have a comeback. But Bego Kribbler now making a move up the inside of Vietia Buerta. Is it going to be clean? Okay, Vietia going very defensive, grabs the way back up, getting pushed a little bit outside Bego Kribbler. He's lost a bit of run now from that Ferrari, tapping him a little bit, and now he's got the likes of, I think, who's that behind him? Is that possibly a back mark? I think that's Michael Donaldson behind him, trying to get past him as well.
Yeah, unfortunately a little bit further down the order. But interesting enough, taking a look at the racing at hand, Actually, Michael Donaldson is a Latin car, the ZRC Seamless Gold, trying to get by. A quick flash saying, hey guys, listen, I need to get round you as quick as I can, and unfortunately, you guys are, well, yes, you're in a fight, but you're holding me up a little bit here. But we got to talk about the blue flag rule, because the blue flag rule means you can continue on the racing line. You're not allowed to fight for position for the fast car, so you cannot block him in a race, but you can hold your speed on the racing line, which these two drivers are doing because they're in a fight. So for Michael Donaldson, as much as it's frustrating, I think Bego Krobler is not too worried about the faster car at the moment. He's focusing on trying to gain positions. As you can see, Ryan Barrington-Smith will be doing so very, very shortly with a charging Bernard Barkhuizen on him. Viertier Buerta going out on the outside, though. Losing out the ground, Bego Krobler goes up on the inside, gets a pass done. He leans on him a bit, but is able to get run through. But interesting enough, Kilian Rayner, Viertier Buerta, and Free have completed all their mandatory pit stops with 33 minutes left of the pit window. Michael Donaldson is forcing Bego Krobler to stick on the inside line, and then does a switch around.
Oh, that was almost a little bit eventful. Climbing over the sausage curbs there, I think he carried a little bit too much speed.
Yeah, Viertier Buerta coming back at him saying, okay, buddy, well, that was a little bit overzealous, but now this has turned into a train. Viertier Buerta is now going and driving with Michael Donaldson, who is in 24th position, might I add, and suddenly we now have the likes of Ryan Barrington-Smith, who is trying to also claw his way past. He's running in 5th with Bernard Barkhuizen in 6th. So these two are now trying to get past multiple blue flags. They're also trying to get round one another, and it's not going to end up in the best way possible. Bego Krobler has come out of the throttle. He said, listen guys, you go and battle it out. I'm going to hang out here and just wait for what I can. I mean, this is just going to be a race and a half. And Michael Donaldson getting past Viertier Buerta. A little bit of an easy pass there. Ryan Barrington-Smith having a go, and slots in with Bernard Barkhuizen, unfortunately stuck in the train, losing out a little bit of time, runs out wide. Viertier Buerta moving out of the way as well, but will be dealing with likes of Bego Krobler onto the back of him very, very shortly. Michael Donaldson going and giving a bit of a gap for Ryan Barrington-Smith to go up on the inside, which once again Bernard Barkhuizen is now caught between the mix. This is just frustrating, but you got to play a little bit of a game here. This is like musical chairs for drivers. As we see, guys, Ryan Barrington-Smith into the pits. Bernard Barkhuizen will get that 5th place. Now going side by side with Michael Donaldson, who is trying not to lose too much speed here. Suddenly sees Viertier Buerta and Bego Krobler close to one another. All four diving into the corner. And unfortunately for Viertier, stuck on the inside, stuck on the outside, loses out that run. But one person who's crept up very, very nicely in that mix of things is Christoph Peterson, who is now into the fray of things, looks for the inside line, gets a pass done, and moves his way through. I mean, this is just the easiest way to say motorsport and sim racing is like watching a ballet. It's like watching a line dance. For anyone that thinks, why am I comparing it to a line dance? Well, go and watch a line dance.
Yeah, everything is so synchronized, and you know, the back markers bring in so much of change and predictions that need to be made. I mean, we're seeing drivers having to change race directory and change their course of direction to try and allow back markers pass. But like you mentioned, Stephen, the likes of Michael Donaldson not trying to lose too much speed while letting back markers pass, because there's no point in ruining your own race due to having to let a blue flag pass. So, you know, it's a very hard thing to do sometimes, depending on the circuit. Thankfully, Monza, having the 3 straights allows for a better integration. But Henry Mayer, the race leader who had a 6.3 second gap, now into the pits. Daniel Rowe follows, so the top leaders slowly going to start making their way into the pits. Will Van der Schoeman stay out? He stays out. He's going to try the overcut while the other drivers are going in. Quan Duplessis also trying the overcut, staying out with Van der Schoeman. So now we need to determine who is going to come out in front, who is going to take our net P1 after some of these pit starts are done, and that looks like Neil Bullion coming out of the pit lane, touching a little bit of grass, just flinging it up in the air to say, hey guys, I'm here, why don't you guys grab my eyes a little bit and make me visible on the box. But great racing.
I think he was touching grass because he got the word from Jim saying you got a stop-go 30-second penalty for getting off the pit limiter a little bit too early. I would also go out and touch a bit of grass there just to realize maybe that wasn't the best move. You know, that meme of I'm so lonely type of story as soon as you get that radio message, because there's no one else you can blame other than yourself for getting off the pit limiter way too early. It's a gut-wrenching thing, and also for drivers, it's one that you got to be very careful of because it's a little bit of a slippery slope. It pulls you out of the race. You start worrying about the penalty, and that can impact worse. I mean, Tristan, you unfortunately, and I'm going to bring it up, I know it's a sore point, you unfortunately had one of your drivers just get into that heated stop-go 30-second penalty, one to the serve it, and didn't quite work out to plan.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate speculation that happened in the Nürburgring 24-hour driver getting a bit of a penalty and a bit of damage as well. And then, unfortunately, we didn't even get a stop go at that point. We got a full disqualification.
For speeding into the pits.
Speeding at, I think it was 165 kilometers into the pit lane. So, fair decision made by the marshals. Oh, very, very close between Dean Nokia and Mondre Klaassen. That was very close touching. And funny enough, last night's rivals actually for the 6th place position was Mondre Klaassen and Dean Nokia. So they're back at it. They're probably seeing the back of each other's cars and going, excuse me, what are you doing back here? Having to fight each other again. But one of the benefits is they know how each other drive. They know how they take each of these corners with the sprint and the championship following the same calendar. So again, using the practice from last night to try and make up ground for this race. And I feel like it's a great strategy, Stephen.
Nice sleight of hand to try and change the conversation, Tristan. Nice sleight of hand there. The dealer is watching you very, very carefully. But talking about it, we have got Paul Fenter is now into the pits. Mahiath Musa is getting his final stop done and dusted. Henry Mayer will continue on. But I do want to go and talk about what's happening at PokerBet, because we've got to talk about some of the amazing stuff that's happening for all our spectators that are watching now and in the future. If you sign up to PokerBet, don't miss out their epic upcoming promotion where you can win a share of a whopping 300,000 Rand. More details are going to be put on their social media and on PokerBet, so make sure you do not want to miss it. Go and sign up with PokerBet in the link in the description. Click on it and go and be a part of it. Also, just one to add out there, if you use our link in the description, it also helps out RACEFACE.PRO. So not only are you getting an opportunity to win some amazing cash prizes, but you're also getting to help out RACEFACE.PRO in promoting our league as well, which, I mean, that's for free. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button and take a look at all our social media. Also over at PokerBet on Twitter, Instagram, X, Instagram, Facebook. I'll never get tired of saying Twitter.
I think it's got 2 names at this point, Steven. So many people are still referring to it as Twitter. You know, all the OGs still used it. It's a bit of a weird thing to say, hey man, go look at my post on X. It just sounds like there needs to be more. I don't know what you think. It's a weird one.
Generally, if I tell someone, go look at my post on my X, they do get a little bit concerned of why you're talking about your ex. That's generally not a great conversational starter for my personal sake. But I'll keep to my playing on the Atari and Nintendo 64 style. Thank you very much. The new kids can go and play with that. I'm getting too old for that. I'll just take my geriatric tablets and wander on back. I do want to talk about Mahiath Musa is now into 17th position. He was into 9th when the pit stops came into the play. So he has now completed all his pit stops. Jaco Kutzer, Kleinans, Sanderson, Tianus Burta, and Kilian Rayner have completed all their mandatory pit stops. But Mahiath Musa has shown that he can get into 9th place. Is this a proper concern for our up-running drivers as Werner Skuman, Duplessis, Bernard Barkhuizen, Chris Heineke, Brandon Kruger, Andre Serradio, and Mac van der Merwe still yet to get their first pit stop out of the way with 24 minutes left of our pit window.
Yeah, I think that these two pit stops are going to play very closely in tune to each other. As you mentioned, 25 minutes, it may seem like a lot, but that time dissipates extremely quickly, especially when you are driving. Like, a little bit of contact there from Dinakia and Mondre Klaassen fighting each other very hard, even fighting each other off track there. But yeah, I feel like those two pits... Oh, touches the grass a bit, almost loses the rear of that Porsche. I think Steven might have changed the color of his seat a bit.
Yeah, that was far too exciting in my opinion, but yeah. I do want to go to it because you want to see the frantic nature that came on board. This is on board with Mondre Klaassen. You can see already getting a little bit squirrely under braking. Turn 1, turn 2, and now it's on the outside, touching the dirt, accelerating. Slight contact once again on the grass, and you can see the snap immediately coming into it, but didn't come off the power regardless. So he just powered through the problem, which most of the time ends up you going and kissing the wall. This time a little bit more lucky, but unfortunately losing out a serious amount of drive. As you see, Vernon Schoeman's pulled into the pits, Chris Heineke's into the pits, so a lot of drivers now starting to get those pit stops done and dusted for their first round of it. Where is our runners though? Because the bar is Henry Meyer, who has just come out of the pits. Well, he's come out of the pits. He is first of everyone that's completed his first pit stop, and Mahath Musa is first of everyone that's completed all their pit stops. So those are the two bars you want to keep an eye out for. Those are the two drivers that will dictate how this pace is going to turn out. But the fastest lap time of the race, Daniel Rose still holds it. He did it 1:47.932, so that was done on a full tank that he's able to get it going. Lap time is starting to taper off. We started with 32 degrees track temperature. It's down to 29, so it's getting a little bit chilly out there. So the drivers are having to cater for that during the pit stop. Lots of math happening in the background. The pit is going to be coming alive with calculators trying to work out what the exact PSI is going to be. Do want to point out though, Henry Meyer has gone out on a fresh set of slicks. He was stopped in the box for 32.6 seconds, so he's on a fresh set of tires. Werner Schoeman was a splash and dash. Daniel Rose, a new set of tires. Issam Domingo is just refuel. Ryan Barrington Smith is a tires. I mean, there's a couple of drivers that have opted for tires, others gone for splashes and dashes. I don't know how to play this game.
It's a bit of a weird one. I think it plays very in tune as well to the cars, because I mean, we mentioned it as well last night. Cars such as the BMW have got great tire management compared to the cars such as the Ferrari 296s, which tend to struggle a bit on those tires. So it's a bit of a tough one. I mean, I'm assuming drivers might still make some tire changes in their final pit stops. If not, running on the same set from the start of the race to the end. An hour and 20 minutes is essentially one endurance stint, Stephen, on one set of tires. I mean, I think it's possible, but the issue is this track is running so hot. Thankfully cooling down now, but that really does not play into the hand of tire wear. You know, it tends to wear the tires a lot more. They tend to slide a lot more. Rubber is a lot more loose. So I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. It's a bit of a concerning one when drivers haven't changed tires. I think Henry Meyer might have pulled the right strategy putting on a new pair of tires, Stephen.
Now, fresh set of boots to get it going. A bit of sky in the rubber to ensure that he stands at the top. Daniel Rowe, though, getting the pass on Werner Schoeman, who is powering his way through. We're actually going to have a chat with Werner Schoeman off air. And I asked the question, why the Ford? Really, why the Ford? Out of all things, you picked the Ford. His answer was America. Why not?
America.
That's about it. That was genuinely his answer. America. Why not?
I don't know if he's still in the virtual grandstands, but I would really like to get a little bit more insight on that from the owner of the Pandacity Esports team, Xavier Udendal. I don't know if he's still here, but we'd love to have a little bit of a response from you in the commentary section of your driver saying America to choosing the Ford Mustang. There's so many other reasons to possibly choose the straight line monster of the Ford Mustang, but I mean, America? I don't know, Stephen, what do you think about that answer?
Okay, quite easy. Let's go in car and you tell me.
yeah, the sound I think just gives you +5 aura and some extra speed on the straight.
There we go. I mean, down the gears.
Oh, yeah.
That is going and just flying. You can hear the screaming eagles. I mean, Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's a little bit more bland here.
I mean, no, it's not bland. It's V8.
Not bland.
It's
Yeah,
V8.
V8, yeah.
Okay, but then you get Bernard Marquez.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite handle it. I mean, going to the Ferrari, Brandon Kruger. Yeah, no, sorry, doesn't quite do it. America wins. V8 power all the way. Well, V8 and German power.
I'm actually sad to not see any of the Mercs, the big boy Mercs on track. Those things scream V8 with that massive engine in the front. That's actually quite sad to see no one on the grid. That's the car I drove in the Sprint Series. Well, I drove it also. One of the factors of driving it was because of that V8. Oh my gosh, and it appears when I speak. Rian van der Race has come back onto circuit after sitting in the pit lane for a while. I mean, listen to that, Steven.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with it. This is like you played the slot machines, you pulled that one-arm bandit, and you just hear the cha-ching on the way through. Absolutely.
Oh, it's so good, man.
You know what? It's just a symphony, an absolute symphony. Hearing all the engines and seeing it all. The BMWs, I've got to say, is the biggest letdown when you jump on board with them.
Yeah, it's a very dull engine, unfortunately. But Stephen, I see we've got someone saying in the virtual grandstand, someone saying we need a V12 on the grid. What do you think about that?
Bring back the Maseratis. Bring back the V12 Aston Martins. I want to see them out on track. You know what? Even better, bring out the Jag. Because you can't go wrong with a Jag. There we go. You can't go wrong with a Jag.
Oh, both BMs going nice and wide. That's Muaf Musa and Juan Viviers chasing each other nicely now down the back straight. I think me and Steven need to tune in a bit more. Yeah, we've been distracted by car noises and the fact that America controls the V8. But back on track now with some hard racing. 27 minutes, just about 27 minutes left. 17 minutes left to do your pit stops. There's still a couple of drivers left with one stop left. Do we have anyone left with 2 stops, Steven? I don't know if we do.
It's gonna take a look.
Actually, yeah.
Duplessis. Well, just say it. He dives into the pits. Will Barkhazer do the same?
No.
No.
Out.
Okay, Brandon Kruger. Listen, is he gonna get it? He's gonna come around Parabolica. He's still got 2 stops. Andre Soradio and Mac van der Merwe needing to do 2 stops. I wonder. Justin, I think you're gonna be having a chat to your pit bosses there.
Staying out again. Okay.
A bit of an interesting call, Soradio. Is he going to stay out? Yes, he is.
Staying out as well.
Mac
so
van
it's
der Merwe.
not just Omnius, okay? We're not getting targeted yet. We've got some other people doing the same.
The strategy is going to be interesting, though. 16 minutes to go. To double stack it is going to be a hard call. Because you will lose 32 seconds. Now, put that into perspective for drivers that are double stacking. You're going to lose a minute and a bit getting in and out of the pits. Is it worth it with the current pace of the field that are fighting their way through? I mean, Duplessis just exited the pits now. He is down into 6th place and now having to claw his way out of a fight with Daniel Rowe hot on the heels behind him. Werner Skuman, Essam Domingo also into the fray of things. Ryan Barrington Smith, Paul Fenter dealing with his own teammate, Christoph Peterson, having a bit of a go on him. So, I mean, this is just going to be a monumental run.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, the pit stop plays an extremely important role, but as you're mentioning, especially with changing tires, it does add time to the pit stops. And like you mentioned, with such a fast evolving field of drivers, where would you come out if you decided to add those extras for changing tires and doing some of the extra other things to possibly, if you've got a bit of damage, whether fixing that damage is going to be worth it to sit a little bit longer, but possibly come out later. Oh, and the Mercedes, I spoke too soon. Rian van der Race, unfortunately, off track again. We're going to go onto the spectator board here just to see what happens to him. I think, Steven, it's going to be Ascari claiming another victim.
You can see De Villiers going on the hunt down just ahead of him. The PWSR car chasing down, jumps over the curb, gets unsteady, getting on the power, over the curb way too much, lifts the car, bounce, brings it back gently. and I think maybe just the bottom of the car taking too much of a hit, and he's opting to just turn it off. I mean, not ideal. I would love to see him keep on going. That's my personal opinion. I'd love to see the car keep on going. You're not done yet. But the driver saying maybe it's just taking too much punishment at the moment. Ryan Barrington-Smith, though, looking to hand out the punishment. Looking around the outside of Issam Domingo, forcing his hand to hold that inside line. That is going to absolutely drill the tires. Both drivers needing to still get in the pits, though, for the mandatory pit stop. Both opting to stay out at the moment. Werner Skuman, oddly enough, is in the pits, so he is going to be keeping an eye on Mahath Musa as his target. So Mahath Musa is the target for Werner Skuman, who is dropping down. Mahath Musa is looking to come around Parabolica at the moment. Werner Skuman just exiting the pit, so he will be the new mark for everyone in that top 10.
Unfortunately, it seems like the undercut from Mahath Musa did not work out. I think Werner Skuman actually the first of the top couple of runners to complete his final and last pit stop. So he's green, he's in the good, he just needs to keep the car clean. As we're talking about the Ryan Barrington-Smith receiving a lot of pressure from Issam Domingo, both of them also still needing to complete a pit stop. So fair fight for both of them here. Looking on the outside, Issam Domingo has got all 4 tires alongside the Martin. Pulls back inside as Ryan Barrington-Smith takes control on the inside of that corner, but he's not going to stop there. Into the second Lesmo, going to keep it clean, but yeah, going back onto the back straight here, he's going to try and gain a little bit of time with that slipstream. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch him before Ascari. More fights in the background though there. I think that was Paul Fenter and the likes of Christoph Peterson, apologies, in the Honda, which I mean, you said also a bit of an underdog. Also still 1 pit stop left, but he's been doing incredibly well to stay with Paul Fenter so far.
Yeah, and also the big Bentley of Chris Heineke in the mix there, chasing them down. So always an interesting fight between them and seeing how the cars are making their way through. Interesting picks making their way into the order. And once again, is it based on the driver's driving style or following the trend? Now with the BOP that has been included, we've got to talk about that because there is a BOP that is the LFM BOP that is included into the racing, which brings the racing a lot closer. Also allows the older cars like the Aston Martins, the Bentleys, the Hondas, all still be able to stick into the fight with the much newer cars of the Audi R8 GT3 Evo, the Lamborghini Huracan Evo, the new Ferrari 296, the BMW M4 GT3. You know, those cars are brand spanking new to the sim, and you take away the BOP, they are insanely quick. But put the BOP on where it adds weight and power restrictions to these cars, it does bring the racing so much closer to one another. But we do see yellow flags coming out for the 93, and unfortunately, that is Daniel De Villiers, who landed up with a bit of problem.
Let's see what happens to Daniel through Ascari. Nice and clean, probably hooking that final curb again. Oh, actually the inside curb, a very weird incident. Tries to control the car, but unfortunately losing it on a snap of oversteer, and he's lost the run. He's been overtaken by the likes of Conor Bergstrom in the background there, and one of those black BMWs. Wasn't able to catch their name, but back onto Juan Duplessis in the Audi. Again, one of the nice unique cars. Only Audi up on grid. But Stephen, I'm gonna shine a little bit of knowledge like you did with the mirrors, but I'm gonna shine some useless knowledge because everyone knows what this is. For those sitting in the virtual grandstand who did not know what Stephen was talking about, the BOP. BOP stands for balance of performance. So that is essentially where some of the cars, like Stephen mentioned, the older cars, your Bentleys, your Astons, they receive a balance of performance to be competitive with some of the faster cars. And additionally, the same with the faster cars, they receive a balance to make them slower. So that can be things such as weight distribution, power limitations, as Stephen mentioned. But so that is a nice thing to have, as mentioned, the LFM BOP being in play. So it allows for some nice enclosed racing. Think of it as turning this from F1 to F2. We have close racing, cars are a lot more on spec with each other, and it just creates a much neater and entertainable racing environment.
That's it. Well, let's take a look at who is where with 20 minutes and 18 seconds to go. Bernard Barkhuizen out in first place. Brandon Kruger in second. Andre Sorodio in third. Mac van der Merwe in fourth, followed by Henry Mayer, Daniel Rowe, Kieran Duplessis, Ryan Barrington-Smith, Issam Domingo, Paul Fenter, Christoph Peterson, Chris Heineke Also in the fray of things, Dean O'Keefe, Werner Skuman, Mahath Musa, Jean Verveers, along with Fleming Bauer, Jaco Kutzer, Jason Farmer, Tianas Buerta, Mordred Claessens, Michael Donaldson in 22nd, 23rd, Kika Saunderson, Gideon Rayner, Neil Bullion, Kevin Jacobs coming out of the pit, Beggar Krubler, Ruan Kleinens, along with Bertia Buerta, Darren Miller, Daniel, the Hitman De Villiers, Ruan Ferree, Conor Bergstrom, Sean Herrera, and Craig Fonsale, who is parked in the pits at the moment. 35 cars in technically still around. 34 cars still circulating. Loureiro 5 laps back, but is still driving. So, big ups to Loureiro. Yes. No, honestly, if you could still keep going, no matter what, you earn my respect. Hands down, left, right, center. That's it. That chocolate milkshake Steri Stumpy. And if Cameron De Bastos is watching, he says you add ice to it, which I firmly disagree with. You never put ice with
to a Steri Stumpy.
Ice to any milkshake. That is his go-to. Don't do it.
That's a freezer then, Stephen.
No, that is an abomination against nature. That is like putting pineapple on a pizza. Just don't do it.
That's true. I mean, I feel like the pineapple on pizza is an interesting one that can cause a big fight. So I'm going to avoid that topic. I don't want to cause any conflict with the virtual grandstand. Back on board with Mac van der Merwe. Still 2 pit stops left. He's given way to Henry Meyer, who's just gone in front. Even a pit stop down from him. So he is nowhere near competing with Henry Meyer at the moment. So we've got only 3 guys left. And funny enough, all the Omnius guys, 3 still with the 2 pit stops left. So playing a very interesting and late strategy. And the pineapple questions are coming. I'm going to go off the comms block. I'm going to let Steven, you can manage that those beautiful virtual spectators.
It's my thoughts there. Bernard Barkhuizen, though, has pulled into the pits. Brandon Kruger is going to stay out. 7 minutes to go. I think this is going to be a rough one. Really?
Don't question me. Thank you.
I don't know. That is not what I'm thinking is going to be a good move. But we have seen Kruger and Bernard Barkhuizen develop this bit of a rivalry since Laguna Seca, where the drivers just opted to go that little bit more to get themselves out and about. Henry Meyer gets past Bernard Barkhuizen and immediately closes up onto his back bumper. This is a very close fight, but they've got Mac van der Merwe right behind him. So how much communication is Bernard actually having to Mac van der Merwe and saying, listen, let's work a game here, let's claw his way through? But Werner Skuman and Mahath Musa, I'm still watching out as they are on a big climb. Mac van der Merwe, though, I hate to say it, is on a proper hiding at the moment because he's still got 2 stops to do. He's lying in 4th place at the moment with Daniel Rowe hunting him down 1.8 seconds behind him. This is just not going to work out for him. I don't know.
And we got some unfortunate news from the virtual grandstand. Gideon Rayner is out from internet issues as well. He's unfortunately ran out of data, so he will be out of this race. I'm not too sure where he was running. I unfortunately think it was somewhere near the back. But again, so unfortunate to see another person going from internet issues. It's not ideal, and it happens so often. But yeah, back to Mac van der Merwe. It's a very interesting strategy being pulled, but like you mentioned, a bit of a hiding coming through. I don't think he was competing for any top spot, so I don't think he's expecting to stay up there. I think he's definitely going to drop below top 15 somewhere, maybe staying above top 15 depending on how his pit stops go. But yeah, interesting one, I would say, definitely, Stephen.
Well, let's take a look at the numbers game, because we enjoy the numbers game here at RACEFACE.PRO, and also PokerBet goes and values the drivers. Yeah, there we go, pulling into the pits. But let's talk about the numbers game, because that's always where it gets exciting. Henry Meyer is exactly where he started, along with Bernard Barkhuizen. They are back to a 1-2 from where they started. Daniel Rowe is up 1 position. Duplessis down 1 position. Brandon Kruger up 2. Mac van der Merwe up 12. Ryan Barrington-Smith down 1. Andre Sorodio, though, up 30 positions. He started 38th. He is now 8th. He is the highest in the climb. And he's not done yet. Yes, Domingo. is exactly where he started. Christoph Peterson exactly where he started. Dino Kerr up 1. Werner Skuman down 7. Mahath Musa up down 5. Sean Fears up 8. Paul Fenter down 4. Fleming Bauer down 2. Chris Heinecker down 1. Jaco Kutzer up 7. Jason Farmer up 2. Tianas Buerta up 8. Mordred Claessens down 4. Michael Donaldson up 17 positions. Keegan Saunderson up 10. Neil Bavilion up 3. Kevin Jacobs up 7. Vego Corbler down 13. Rowan Kleinans down 1. Vietia Buerta up 1. Darren Miller up 7. Rowan Ferree up 4. Conor Bergstrom up 4. Daniel De Villiers down 13. Sean Lerero down 3. And Craig Fontaine down 10. So, there we go. Number games. And all brought to you by PokerBet.
Absolutely amazing. Stephen, I want you to quickly go back up to our race leaders. That being Henry Mayer and Bernard Barkhuizen. And I want to quickly talk about something interesting. So, obviously, we mentioned Bernard Barkhuizen back into that second position, chasing down Henry Mayer. But something that I noticed, especially during pit stops, which is going to play a factor into the final pit stops being used, is that we mentioned that Henry Mayer did a tire swap and refueling during his pit stops, right? That's correct.
Yes, he's done a tire swap. Bernard Barkhuizen
did a splash. Alright, so Barkhuizen had a very fast pit stop. He did a very quick fueling as well. I think he was in his pit box for about 4 seconds. So that's going to play very, very confusingly. And we're just going to have to watch what happens, because Henry Mayer's next pit stop is going to be fast. But Bernard Barkhuizen's, especially if he changes tires, is going to be a much slower pit stop. And that could drop him down the order.
Is he going to go for it, the tires though? Because if you think about it, we've got 3 minutes and 23 seconds to go. It's going to be too long of a stop. I mean, a tire stop, physically stopping the box, is 32.6 seconds, okay? A splash and dash is 8.7 seconds. Is it worth going and getting that tires onto the car, considering Daniel Rowe is on a fresh set of boots and chasing you down? He's also got a splash and dash. I think Bernard Barkhuizen has actually lost that bit of a chance to go for a full tire workout, because take a look who's gone and snuck his way into 10th. Werner Skuman with Mahath Musa chasing him down. They have actually jumped up the order, and remember, they've completed their pit stop. So any time lost, these two will immediately be onto the back of you, and, well, the rest of the field is not very far behind. So for our top 9, the gamble is on whether it's taking tires just to try and get yourself to the end, or is it going to be forcing your way through. Just try and drive through the problem, knowing that your grip is going to be fading away lap after lap. You're going to have to start nursing those tires, start speaking sweet music to it, saying, hey, listen, you're an absolute ace. You're not a jack. You're definitely a king. You know, you're the proper top of the cards here. This is heart of the cards drawing moment for every time. This is standing at the blackjack table and just wondering, have you made the right call? Because in 1 minute and 44 seconds, you're going to have to make that call very, very quickly of tires or just fuel.
Well, Stephen, you sound like you speak from experience with singing sweet hymns to your tires. I can imagine through the experience of your racing, you've had it before, so you would know that it's a complicated situation.
Okay, well, Brandon Kruger's just answered it. Up, down, and he's just refueled.
Okay, so no tires for Brandon Kruger. He's made the decision, and in the Ferrari, which is quite a weird one. I mean, considering that we spoke about the Ferrari not having the best tire degradation compared to the likes of a BMW. So he's going to have to run that car on ice. He's going to have to pull out the whispering tool and do what Steven says and start whispering to those tires and making sure they stay intact, because there's no more pit stops left for him now. He's going to run that car to the end. He's got 10 minutes left, about 10 minutes, 11 minutes left. Do you think he's going to manage it, Stephen? Well,
he's got Mahath Musa and Vernon Skuman, who pulled the undercut on him. They jump up to 6th and 7th position, so it is a close one to it. But Brandon Kruger's made the call for a splash and dash. And now the question comes in. Henry Mayer is pulling into the pits, 27 seconds to go.
Bernard follows.
Okay, Daniel Rowe. Daniel Rowe has not.
He's staying out.
This is going to be a penalty. This is going to be a penalty for him.
he's forgotten about the pit window. So Daniel Rowe is going to receive a penalty for not completing that pit stop.
And Isam Domingo's on the wrong side of the track. 4,
if he's realized that,
3,
Steven, that's
2,
bad.
1. Isam Domingo will get a penalty as well. So Daniel Rowe and Domingo have absolutely obliterated their chance of being in the top 5.
That is so unfortunate. We don't even know if that was like missed strategy. I mean, Isham Domingo, I think just a missed timing. I believe he was most probably coming in to do his final stop, but missing out now. Steven, what is the penalty for not completing a pit stop?
130 seconds.
That is unfortunate. So Daniel Rowe completely losing out any form of opportunity to fight for the podium position. 130 seconds, that's going to drop him down far. That is going to drop him down near 6th, 7th, where Amaif Musa and Vanus Kuman is. But I don't know what to say, Steven.
We talk about taking the gamble, and we've just seen 2 drivers do it. But I want to check this one out. Henry Mayer was stopped in the box for 6 seconds. Bernard Barkhuizen, 8.9. So he has refused to take tires. He is on for the final run with the same set of tires he's had the entire race, while Henry Mayer has taken a fresh set of tires from his first stop. So this is going to be a nightmare battle because, well, these 2 drivers are fighting it out for first and second position because Daniel Rowe and Isam Domingo will receive penalties for not pitting in the pit window. Isam Domingo was on the wrong side of the track and had the countdown before it went wrong. And Daniel Rowe, well, I don't quite know. He had the opportunity to pull in and he just thought, you know what? I'm in first. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to take the hit. But I'm going to try and make... Yeah, I don't know. I think that was a misjudgment call there. Isam Domingo, though, is not fighting Henry Mayer too much into it. So I think Domingo knows that he's going to take the hit, and he's just going to try and keep it all together, try and minimize damage loss. Remember, he's got 130 seconds. So this is where you start pulling out the calculator. This is where you start guessing and saying, okay, I need to make up X amount of time away from like Ryan Barrington-Smith and Brandon Kruger, who are in their own fight between one another. I've got to keep on the back of Henry Mayer to try and pull me a little bit more forward. And that 130 seconds, that's going to be added to my time. It is going to drop me down. I've got to try and minimize the time loss here. But 2 drivers... Oh, man.
So unfortunate, man. I mean, it's such a weird thing to see, especially the likes of Daniel Rowe. I mean, it's not even like he was far enough. He crossed the line when there was still time to pit. He decided not to pit. So that might have been a lack of concentration or potentially forgetting. Oh, big moves on the outside here. Very, very close for drivers of Brandon Kruger and Ryan Barrington-Smith, giving each other a little bit of trading paint there. Ryan's like, give me some green and I'll give you some orange. That's going to be a nice mix of colors, but unfortunately, Ryan losing the drive from Brandon. Was Brandon in front? I actually didn't check, but great fighting from the both of them. But I mean, that was quite hectic coming into T1, Steven.
Now, Ryan Barrington-Smith was leading into T1. Brandon Kruger came back at him, utilized the brakes on it, and it got past. But Ryan Barrington-Smith fighting back. The Aston Martin looking a little bit more lively around the corners than it originally started with. Brandon Kruger running out very, very wide. You could just see Ryan's pushing the car harder and harder and getting it to snap underneath him. He's got to be so careful not to have the front to loosen up too much on this charge. You've got to be very, very cautious on their approach.
Absolutely,
well, we talked about having uncertainties at PokerBet, but we also alluded that the uncertainties can happen in sim racing. We got to see it, and honestly, I would like a bit of 10% back for my hedging bets of everyone's going to do the pit stop. Well, 2 drivers didn't, so yeah, not my cup of tea, and it's definitely left both Tristan and myself completely out of words. And I think everyone to the grandstands is currently having a huge gasping moment, trying to figure it out as well.
I think we need some clearing up though, because I mean, I think it's unfair to leave the virtual grandstand shocked. I mean, we're also shocked. It's confusing. So I mean, I don't know. We could potentially try and get these guys into an interview room after this race and ask what happened. In specific, Daniel Rowe, who skipped the pit lane. I mean, it's such a weird thing to see. But again, Ryan Barrington-Smith and Brandon Kruger going at it into turn 1. They're not going to stop we have 5 minutes left, just about 5 minutes left of this race. We started at 1 hour 20 minutes. That's how quick time flies, guys. We started at 8 o'clock tonight with qualifying, getting away. We're now 9:45 already. That's how fast time goes. And I mean, there's only 5 minutes left. If that amount of time went that fast, 5 minutes is going to go by really quick. So Ryan Barrington-Smith is going to have to attack for his life, and Brandon Kruger is going to have to attack for his life. But one thing I'm trying to figure out is, did Ryan Barrington-Smith put on a new set of tires? Because that could potentially... Okay,
no,
so he's also running...
They both splash and dashes. They both on their first... while Brandon Kruger has stayed out the longest on his set of tires, Ryan Barrington-Smith did change on his first pit stop.
Okay, so he did change on his first pit stop. So Brandon Kruger didn't change at all, correct? He's running on the bare bones since the start of the race.
He's going to rim.
He's going to rim, exactly. He's going straight to the end of the line, pulling a Lewis Hamilton Silverstone, driving that car across with deflated tires. But I mean, Ryan Barrington-Smith can try and push this now. He's got the fresher tires. He's got the car to fight for it. He's got 4 minutes and 10 seconds left. I don't even know if he realizes that he's got 4 minutes and 10 seconds left, but he's got to put on a competition here, Steven.
I think what we are seeing right now, and it's everyone's walked into the PokerBet casino, they've sat down at the tables, it's high stakes. Now everyone's got themselves sorted. You've gone and had chips falling, you've had people fold, and that is them dusted out of the competition. But for likes of Brandon Kruger and Ryan Barrington-Smith, they might not be going for the win. They're not at the high stakes table as for Monza, like Henry Mayer and Bernard Barkhuizen are doing, but they're sitting there second of the table, going and lining up their cards. The dealer has dished out the hands, they're waiting, they peered at the cards, they're looking at one another saying, right, who's going to play the first move here? How are we going to go? And it is going to be snap on to snap, trying to figure out how they can get going and telling that dealer to hit every single shot and hoping that the luck is on their side for the cards. It is going to be a monumental one. It is high stakes for them because it is critical for the points into their championship. Brandon Kruger with a lot to prove on the table after Laguna Seca, and Ryan Barrington-Smith, who is just trying to keep himself going at the moment. He has made his return to RACEFACE.PRO in the earlier, well, last season was his return to the world of RACEFACE.PRO after a very, very long hiatus. So he never got to actually duke it out with a lot of these drivers. He was racing with logistical nightmare racing for quite some time, which does have some of our drivers here, but not as many. And getting to challenge himself against some of the best in the country is definitely no easy feat. And well, we've got a modern day Ferrari 296 versus an older Aston Martin V8 AMR that is fighting his way through. But we do see yellow flags for the 177 of Jaco Kutzer.
Jaco Kutzer losing it a little bit. Steven, it's another Ascari victim has been claimed. Jaco Kutzer coming on the exit of Ascari, obviously losing a little bit of grip and unfortunately losing the rear end and into the grass. I'm actually not too sure if he hit the wall. I'm hoping he didn't. That would.
No, he didn't. There was no damage to that car, so he didn't hit the wall, but definitely dropping down 2 positions to Mac van der Merwe and Jason Farmer. We're watching the closest battle on circuit for the remaining 1 minute and 30 seconds here for the RACEFACE.PRO PokerBet GT3 Championship Round 2 at Monza. And Brandon Kruger fighting for everything at the moment. The heart is in the cards, if I had to take a line from Yu-Gi-Oh! And we just got word that the leader is on the final lap. So Daniel Rowe is on the final lap, trying to carry it through. Henry Mayer will be receiving it. He's currently ahead of Bernard Barkhuizen by quite a bit as a stand, nearly 4 going 5 seconds to Bernard Barkhuizen, who is just trying everything he can. Brandon Kruger and Ryan Barrington-Smith also hearing that leader is on the final lap, will be pushing his way through. My heart goes out to Issam Domingo though, because the countdown... Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that was close. Real close. Fighting up until the line. Barrington-Smith takes the place back from Brandon Kruger.
And puts them all out.
Left to go. Oh.
That killed some of the drive. That has killed some of the drive. And now this allows Brandon Kruger to get into the tow, pull himself along. Has he got enough in the tank to try and close him down? Lights ablaze for Brandon Kruger as he stares down the back of Ryan Barrington-Smith. who seems to be a little bit unsteady out of Parabolica. Aston Martin really getting thumped around the circuit now as he makes his way through. 2 cars currently in the pit lane. Daniel de Villiers, Harry van Zyl are in the pit and not moving as it stands. But our leader having to fight his way through. So Daniel Rowe, who is making his way out of Ascari, will see the checkered flag and will take first place until the penalties applied, where Henry Mayer has done enough to secure first place. Issam Domingo, unfortunately, also receiving that penalty. Bernard Barkhuizen will take second place away from him. So monumental runs all the way through, but as we follow through with the likes of Daniel Rowe, comes across the line, and there it is.
130 seconds. That is such a crazy thing to see next to someone's name. We're used to seeing the SG30 for the stop go 30 and the
DT
stop and go and the DT for drive through. But wow, 130-second penalty applied. That changes everything. I've been trying to think where they drop down to. I think it's going to be around about 9th or 10th that they're going to be dropping down to, maybe even further. I don't know if Steven's better with the math.
I'm not really better at the math, because that works out on the computer. The only time we'll get to see all the penalties completely applied is once the checkered flag comes down, the finalized standings for the race come through. That is excluding if there's any penalties that are applied by our stewards after the fact for incidents out on circuit, which I know there's going to be 1 or 2 not so happy campers. But Jason Farmer at the moment battling against Mac van der Merwe. This seems to be one of the races for you, as we see Mac van der Merwe defending against Jason Farmer, and I can see who's going to get this. Mac van der Merwe gets a drive. Jason Farmer gets the acceleration down. Dean is also into the fray of things. It is now a 3-way fight heading down to Parabolica, and Dean is into it. Who's going to go for the late pass? Mac van der Merwe, center of the circuit. Jason Farmer stuck on the outside. He gets a little bit of a poor exit, and now has...
might lose it to Dean Nakia now.
Dean's got it.
Coming up on the inside. He's got
he's going to take Slapper.
Jason Farmer. This is a chase straight down to the line. Who will get it? The line comes up. Is it going to be Jason Farmer or Dean Nakia? And Dean just takes it from Jason Farmer. What a crazy speculation to watch on the final lap. Jason Farmer thinking to himself, I can get myself a position here, and instead losing a position. That is so tragic, Steven.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking, but was so well done by our drivers. Getting that little bit more, and you can see everyone just getting themselves steadily past. Now, we're waiting for the official results to come out, but let's head back to the commentary box for the walk, and we look forward to seeing some of the highlights. And we're back in the commentary box, taking a look at the track. And, wow, Monza has been a thrills and spills right the way through. And some very, very close racing. We're going to be having an interview with a couple of our winners and seeing who climbs their way to the top. But I have got the official results here. Henry Mayer taking first place, Bernard Barkhuizen in second, Duplessis taking third, Werner Skuman in fourth, Mahath Musa in fifth, Ryan Barrington-Smith in sixth, seventh, Brandon Kruger, Andre Soradio, Christoph Peterson, Paul Fenter, Chris Heineke, Mac van der Merwe, Dean Nokia, Jason Farmer in 14th. 15th is Jaco Kutzer. 16th, Daniel Rowe. 17th is Issam Domingo, both having that 130-second penalty applied. Tiernas Puerta in 18th. Jean Verveers in 19th, and Mordred Claessens taking 20th position on the run out to it. So 130 seconds came in and unfortunately wiped out, and not ideal circumstances. And I gotta say, a bit of a challenging one there. Not often we get to see drivers making a mistake like that. Issam Domingo, unfortunately, gambling on that last lap and saying, well, I can make it, I can make it, I can make it, till he quite couldn't do it. Going around Parabolica with only 5 seconds left in it. Didn't play his hand too well there. Unfortunate. But Tristan, I know that you lining up a couple of guys to come and have a chat with us here in the commentary box.
100%. So we're going to move over to the interviews for the post-race. So we're going to be having an interview with a couple of the podium finishers. We're going to start with Henry Mayer. Welcome, Henry Mayer, to the commentary box. And congratulations. It feels like a bit of deja vu here. I mean, we saw you last night taking the win in the GT3 Sprint Series sponsored by PokerBet, and now doing it in the main series. So congratulations, finishing P1. How do you feel, man?
Thanks. That was a sweaty race, actually. Uh, Bernard did a great job. Even Rao did a massively good job. But Bernard had me sweating with his not changing tire strat, and then I had to chase basically the gap down again. So yeah, that was sweaty. Fun race.
That's a great thing to hear. And what were you thinking when you decided to make the move to put new tires on? Were you thinking that it was what most people were going to do? Because from the com box upstairs over here, it seemed like most people opted to not change tires and rather push and try and gain a couple of positions. So what was going through your head after you changed to new tires?
At that point, I thought maybe it was the best strat. But even since last night, I was like, what would work best actually, because it's Monza. You can make the tires last. So it was sweaty at that point, but for most of the race, it didn't seem like the correct call. But it worked out.
Well, glad that it worked out. You managed to clinch it and take first place with a decent bit of gap. So congratulations, Stephen. Is there anything you want to say before we send Henry on a night of a bit of celebration?
Well, Henry, you've taken it. Another win, another bag in the points, and now looking at the top of the charts for the PokerBet GT3 Championship powered by RaceFace. But that also means you get to win our prizes that happen for every winner in the races in the 8 rounds. They're each going and scoring a prize. So I'm sure that you have really signed up with PokerBet to ensure that you get your winnings out of that. But honestly, monumental effort. That prize pool of 150,000 Rand in cash and PokerBet credits is now starting to look a little bit closer. Your competition is fierce, but are you feeling more confident heading into round 3 next week?
Honestly, confidence, yes, but they're very strong at this point. So I think they're gonna turn it up a bit. But massive thanks to RaceFace PokerBets hosting a great event. And thanks for making such a great effort at the commentary box.
It's absolutely monumental and a great run all the way through. Henry Mayer, thank you very much for joining us here in the commentary box, and we look forward to seeing you next week right here at RACEFACE.PRO.
Thank you, and thanks to my teammates for keeping me company while singing and making me laugh with the crashes and stuff.
Oh, it's always a good thing to have some good teamwork. But thank you so much to Henry Mayer, who came and did an interview. We're going to move on to our next interviewee. It's going to be Bernard Barkhuizen, who managed to clinch second place after a very eventful start to the race, getting bent down, back down to 9th position, starting in second, having a race down to the T1 with Henry Mayer, but then unfortunately receiving some unlucky contact. So we're going to bring him into the commentary box. Bernard Barkhuizen, welcome to the commentary box, and congratulations on an eventful start to the race, but managing to bring it back and finish in second.
How's it? Is that Tristan?
That is indeed Tristan.
How's it, Tristan? Man, you're my manager. What you doing in the commentary booth?
Yeah, I'm trying my hand over here, eh?
Like a man. Yeah, man, just like I just checked the replay to see you actually spun me out there in the beginning. Because if that didn't happen, I would have probably comfortably won. So yeah, I'm just a bit gutted there.
It's an unfortunate thing to see. What was going through your mind after that unfortunate swing of events into turn 1?
Well, yeah, what can I say? It's just adrenaline and trying to think as quick as possible. But what I did there at that exact moment when I spun out, I just did a quick 360 and go through the escape road on the left. So yeah, it was a very good rejoin. But yeah, it could have ended badly because technically I wasn't really on the brakes and then someone could have hit me. So yeah.
So Bernard, you gave me and Steven quite a bit of a run for our money. You gave us a bit of the shakes up here in the commentary box, watching you and some of your other team members and their very late pit strategy. So we just wanted to find out what was the motive of not changing tires. Were you feeling comfortable in the car? Were you trying to gain a bit of time to Henry?
Yeah, look, I think for 80 minutes on Monza, it doesn't really matter how hot it is. I mean, if the track's like 50 degrees, maybe you can change tires, but for an hour 20, hour 30-minute race, you don't really need to change tires. I think Henry did change tires, but I know Kewen did not. But yeah, the motive was just to, you know, gain as much time as possible, because I know your pace can still be very good if you just look after your tires throughout the whole race. So yeah,
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to pass you over to Stephen Koenig for the final closings before you leave us up here in the comm box. Stephen.
Well, Bernard, once again, absolutely tremendous stuff. Starting to shake off some of that, well, bad luck rust you've had in the previous season. But this time, it looks like it's all getting put together and the competition becoming a bit more fierce. You and Henry May are starting to build up a bit of a rivalry between one another. Round 3 on the cards. Anything you would like to say to all the drivers out there in the grandstands, to all our amazing spectators, our amazing sponsors that are putting the money where their mouth is, and also to your championship rival that's, well, got the leg up on you on this time. As you said, if it wasn't for an unfortunate contact at the start of the race, you would have had a comfortable lead. So, are we seeing a little bit of a spice coming in? Any closing words from your side, Bernard, on this matter?
Yeah, no, look for definitely extra spice going into the rest of the season. Yeah, it's just some unfortunate events lately, you know. I've had a lot of disconnects and mechanical issues or computer issues in the in the virtual world. But yeah, the rivalry is definitely on now, and you know, thanks everyone for watching in, and it's going to be an exciting one from here on.
Absolutely. Stuff. Well, it's a great thing to have you in the commentary box, and congratulations again for the podium position and taking second place after an eventful race. Good luck celebrating further on, and good luck going into round 3.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Alrighty then, and then Stephen, I think I'll hand you over for the final podium finisher.
Yes, let's bring in Mr. Quinn Duplessis. Mr. Duplessis, well done to going and getting third place. Was this ever a thought that suddenly you, further down the field, you finished in 5th and suddenly, bang goes the whistle, you're in 3rd and, well, on the final stop of the podium. How are you feeling with that one?
It feels given. I don't think I should be in 3rd place. Daniel just didn't put, unfortunately, and gave up the position. And I was just lucky to be in that position at the time to end the race in 3rd place.
Well, I think it was still a phenomenal one, and you pitted at the right time where the others did not. We saw Isam Domingo losing out by 5 seconds. But you've got a bit of history with this track. You actually did a solo 8-hour in the Audi around Monza, and you survived. You managed to win it overall. You got some confidence there. Turn 1, we've got to ask, what happened? You got stuck 3 wide and it looked like you had the pace, but couldn't quite move back, forward, left, or right.
I haven't really looked at the replay just yet, but from what I can remember, what happened was at the time when under braking, I saw Daniel braking a lot earlier, and then I thought the space opened up on the left side because the radar didn't show that it was there. So I thought I can slot in behind because Maya was on the inside. So I thought if I can just come around, just lose a little bit less time for in case there's a last moment dive on the inside, just to protect myself from that. But it was a slight miscalculation. Daniel quickly came up on the braking, and yeah, I couldn't react in time because of the late move, and yeah, it kind of just pinballed its way forward to Barkhuizen that unfortunately got spinned.
A bit of a rough one, but still a amazing result. You say it's a given. I think it's still well done because others took the gamble. They rolled the dice and they got snake eyes. You rolled it through and managed to get the absolute perfect. If it's anything, I'm not too great with casinos, but you definitely rolled a nat 20 in the world of, well, D&D in that
Yeah.
in that regard. Tristan, anything you would like to say to Mr. Duplessis before we let him go and have a bit of fun and celebrate his third place? That well deserved.
Well, Mr. Q and Duplessis, congratulations on third place once again. We've mentioned it a couple of times, but yeah, I feel the same as Steven. Definitely not given, man. You fought that well, and that final podium place is definitely reserved for you. I just wanted to ask. Obviously, there's the knowing of the Audi having a bit of a nickname as the tire scorcher, known to burn out tires a little bit faster than other cars. I wanted to know, how were the tires feeling? You're pretty veteran with the Audi at Monza, especially as we mentioned, you did an 8-hour in the Monza, in the Audi at Monza. So how did the tires feel in the Audi around Monza?
The first half of the stint was pretty great. The tires didn't feel that bad. Through the middle of the race, you can feel the rear lift, especially wanting to turn the car around because of the grip not being there. But the Audi, I don't know about the other cars, but the Audi actually feels like a really solid car for Monza specifically. The tire wear I don't feel there's any tire wear on the Audi on the Monza. Well, the strong tire wear, because you can really push the car for the whole stint, and you won't really feel that degradation that you would feel from other cars maybe.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's great. That's some great information to hear, and thank you so much for sharing your insights. I'm assuming you're most probably the best person to ask, seeing you are the only Audi on grid, and yet you've managed to perform so well. So congratulations again on your third place. Go and have a great night further with a little bit of celebrations here and there. I mean, third place is a major of an accomplishment, especially with such a nice and decent prize pool waiting for you from PokerBet. So well done again, and have a great night further.
Thank you to you guys as well.
Absolutely tremendous stuff, and what an evening it has been. But we got to talk about what's coming up next week, Tristan, because it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a wild one. We are heading over to Zandvoort for our next round here at the RACEFACE.PRO PokerBet GT3 Championship. And Zandvoort is definitely a very, very difficult circuit to try and keep it all together. It's going to be one that's going to test the patience of drivers, because a lot of follow the leader, a lot on keeping those tires alive, and maybe those extending those fuel stops are going to be just needed. It's going to be the ultimate gamble, in my opinion.
100%, I agree. Zandvoort is a very, very technical track. Lots of snake-like turns, lots of high rotation corners. People are going to need to keep those tires in check. We thought that Laguna was bad with those constant left and rights, but I mean, Zandvoort is another complete beast on its own. Lots of elevation change as well from Zandvoort. So a very, very interesting race to watch. Please, everyone in the virtual spectatorship in the grandstand, you do not want to miss next week, Thursday and Wednesday, for these GT3 Sprint and Championships, sponsored by PokerBet and powered by RaceFace Pro.
Absolutely tremendous stuff. Well, that being said, we're going to say farewell to the world of Italy. We're going to say farewell to Monza, and we're going to get our tickets to fly over to Zandvoort for next week. But Tristan, any closing thoughts from your side?
Well, only closing thought I could say is, once again, an absolutely phenomenal race hosted by RaceFace. Most of the race was clean. We had our couple of turn one incidents, but we saw the same in the sprint series. But overall, great racing from everybody. Great respect all around amongst all drivers, and once again, an amazing race, and we hope to see more following in Zandvoort and the rest of the season.
It's going to be an incredible one, that is being said, and a big shout out to all our drivers in the AM, Pro-Am, and Pro division that are racing that were racing this evening. A massive shout out to all our virtual grandstand, everyone watching now and in the future. Without you guys, the friends, the family members, the drivers, everyone looking in and saying, hey, listen, this is great stuff. Please make sure to share, go and show off to the world, because we are watching champions here, world-class champions fighting out. A massive shout out to all our sponsors and to our title sponsor, PokerBet. And if you want to go win with them, go down to the link in the description. They have got an event just for you based on the Olympics. You can win some amazing cash prizes, and for every medal that's coming in, we are jacking up those prizes even more. So for gold, we're scoring big. silvers, bronze, whatever gets won by South Africa has an opportunity to land right back into your pocket thanks to PokerBet. A massive thank you to our admin for putting it all together and making sure that all the servers are up and running. And also a massive shout out to Tristan Herbs, who, coming from a team boss, a former commentator, now dusting off a microphone and coming back. Tristan, absolutely a phenomenal time to have you. Really, really excited to have a new voice lurking around in the world of sim racing. Well, a returning voice, I'm going to say, coming back to sim racing, being a part of all the amazing action, and, well, putting me to shame. I think I can't compete with the sim racing guys. No,
I cannot dethrone a king, Steven.
No, I think you pretty much got it there. But I'll keep to the Joker card. You can be the king. It's all fine with that.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here at RACEFACE.PRO. Hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification icon. Plenty of action to come. Next week, Tuesday, we're heading in for the final round of the F4s. Our SA Lube RF4s going to be having a bit of fun out there. Wednesday, we've got the RACEFACE.PRO PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series, and Thursday, our RACEFACE.PRO PokerBet GT3 Championship. So make sure you join in for those amazing actions. Hit down to SimGrid if you want to join in with all the action. Keep up with any of the racing action and all our standings as well. Great to have it there. Follow us on all our socials. Follow our sponsors on socials as well. Big shout out to them for being a part of the broadcast. And like always, a good morning, good afternoon, a good evening, and good night, everybody.